Hello, this is Jerry Jenkins. I've created a short Python program to pull information from my YouTube area or any YouTube area. I had the problem I was creating so many videos. Let me go to my YouTube area. When you go to YouTube, you go to what's called your channel, which is just after YouTube. And this is my channel name, G. Jenkins LBCC. And YouTube, I have a channel, and within the channel you can create what's called sections. You can have any number of sections or no sections, and within each section you can create playlists, which are sequences of videos, and you can create one or more of those or none. And so the simplest channel you might go to on YouTube will not have a playlist, it'll just have a list of videos. Next up, you might create playlists. So you go to a YouTube channel and you would have to go to this playlist up here to get a list of playlists. And it gives you all the playlists, but also has some made up ones like this created playlist, which you're not interested in. But as you get more and more videos and you want to manage them, if you want to find out information, like you have a lot of videos and they have related descriptions and you want to edit your descriptions or look at them, you have to open up each video and look at the information and maybe even go to edit. So I was interested in getting this information, and there's different ways of doing that. The first thing I wanted to do is create a table of contents. So this is a table of contents to all of my videos. So first you'll see it has the name of my channel up here, and then this is the section I'm in. So this takes you to a list of actually all the videos, or the playlist. And then within that section I have a list of different playlists, which are these playlists, which are different chapters of a book that I have a set of videos for. And then with each video I have the name of the video and its time. And you'll see these are all linked, so I can now take this HTML structure and paste it into a blog page or a web page and have a nice index that people can look up what video they want. They want to go to chapter 3, the 4th video, they click here and it takes them right to that video. So this is much simpler than someone trying to navigate my original YouTube page. My problem was how to get all this information from YouTube and put it in and build a page like this. And in fact, getting information from YouTube. Now YouTube has an API, and you can technically use the API to do this. And I started to try to do that, and it was pretty complex. So I'm used to screen scraping. The technique of screen scraping is you go to the original YouTube, and you basically have a program that downloads this page and looks for structures on it. So maybe I'm looking for this structure here. Let me do inspect. I'm in Chrome, but most browsers have something like this. And you can inspect HTML and you say, well, maybe I want to find a span with this video title. And so screen scraping is where you write a program that uses software that finds that, and we're going to use a thing in Python called Beautiful Soup, which works really well. And then you eventually get either the title attribute here, or you find the title in the actual text on the web page, which is the content. So you can pull the title different ways. So I wanted to find different things of these. I also wanted to find the short URL to it. So this little thing here is a short URL. So you can look on a page using tools in your browser to find out how you want to scrape. And I'll probably do a separate video on scraping sometime in the near future. But let's go back. So what I want to do is I want to look at this page from a program, pull out the list of all my playlist and sections I have. And the way I did it, it has view full playlists. When you get a playlist here, this will show you a list of all the videos on the right hand side. So then if you want more information about a video than just that HTML page, which I wanted, I actually go and open up a video. And when you open up the video, there's all kinds of information. You can get the title, how many people have viewed it, how many people have voted up or disliked it or liked it. You can find the short URL somewhere on the page. You can find the full description on the page, which is all this information. So there's a lot of information. You can find when it was published. So I wanted to pull this information, and while I was at it, I wanted to get the video time and things like that. So I wrote a script to do all that. So let's switch to the script. So we're assuming you already know if you're going to do screen scraping, you need to know HTML and some CSS to find your way around in the HTML page. And then you'll need to, of course, know a programming language. I like Python. I program in a lot of languages, but so I wrote this in Python because it's very convenient. I'm using a tool called PyCharm. You can get a free version of it for doing Python development. So I import some libraries. I import Beautiful Soup, which I mentioned is a library in Python that will allow you to scrape things from screens. And I use some other libraries here I'm going to use. So let's step through it. Now, if you want to use this video, I have a link in the description to go to download this code, and also a link over to my blog about the same code. But here's my channel name, so if you want to do it for your channel, just change this channel name. Now, something to be aware of is a couple things. When you do screen scraping, sometimes you go to web pages and the content you see on the page is not what your screen scraper will see. For example, with just pulling down the page, because some content is created by JavaScript, and this request library doesn't run JavaScript for you. YouTube happens to have pages that are supported without JavaScript, but they look different than what you see when you go into your browser. So sometimes when you download a page and you look for the little areas that you want to find, they may change how they do that on the non-JavaScript page. If you go to a site that's not YouTube that creates a lot of their content using JavaScript, you have to use a different technique for screen scraping, which is basically you have to control a browser to download it for you and then look at what it downloaded. And because that's a popular thing to do, they have things that are called headless browsers, which is basically a browser that might be just like Chrome, but there's no window you see associated with it. It does it all in the background. That's a little aside. So when you change this channel name, the main thing that runs this program is at the bottom here. So it comes in and it sees, well, I'm running from main, and it's going to print out information as it's running. So what you'll see it do is the first thing it's going to do is call a method called channel section links. So what I want to do is go to the main YouTube page for that channel and get a list of all the section links. And sections will now be a structure, which is actually a list in Python with dictionaries inside with information about each section. And so let's go to the channel section links, which is near the top. And so here's channel section links. So I have one global module name on here, which is the channel name. Everything else is passed as parameters. So channel section links. It calls this method I wrote called getSoup. And getSoup, you pass it a URL. This is for Python 3.6 and later, and in Python 3.6 or later, they have a very nice thing called f-strings, which basically you can write a string with this template language, and it'll fill in what's in the curly braces with whatever expression you put here. So it looks up channel name and converts it to a string and inserts it into this to make the URL. Now getSoup is because I was repeating the same code over and over again in this code, so I wrote getSoup up here. And getSoup basically gets the web page using the request library, and it checks if that page was there. If it doesn't, it returns a none. It sleeps the page. Now why it does that, it sleeps and puts the program to sleep for 5 seconds, is in the user term document for using YouTube. If they don't want you to screen scrape, but they allow it. But they allow it only if you screen scrape at a speed that would be comparable to a human. So between getting each page from YouTube, I put a 5-second delay between each one. If you don't have that delay, or if you do a lot of screen scraping from YouTube, different things can happen. Well, if you don't have the delay, technically you're breaking your user contract with YouTube if you have an account, and they could throw you off YouTube. That would be the worst case. If you just hit their site too many times, they do have an automated thing that detects that, and it will limit the number of things you see in a list in YouTube. So if you're looking at a channel that has 300 videos in a list, it might only show you the first 30 of them, and then you'll have no way to get to the rest of them. So just to warn you about that. So once that it returns, then it creates a new object after the sleep by taking the text from that request, which is the actual document text from the page, and it parses it using an HTML parser, and that creates what's called a soup object, or a beautiful soup object. So that's going to be what we use to look for things. And Beautiful Soup has a lot of nice methods, and you can read about it under Beautiful Soup 4, which is the version I'm using. Look up Beautiful Soup 4 and documentation, and it has very well written documentation on it online. So basically this is a lot of what I'm doing. Once I get a soup object, and what it does is it looks at the text. The text property of the soup object returns the original HTML for the entire page, and this just searches that this message is not in the page I just downloaded for the person's channel. If it is, the channel doesn't exist, and we can't do anything else, so I raise an error here. So that's a fatal error. Okay, so then it's going to call soup.findAll. So you use findAll for finding a lot of the same kind of target anchors that you're looking for, whatever you're looking for. This is looking for an A tag, and this is specifying that I want an href that matches this regular expression. So I'm looking at something that has the channel name /playlist. And so every time it finds a link to a playlist, basically, it's going to add that to this list. So eventually this ends up an array of soup objects. Now what I want to do for that is I have a list comprehension here that's going to get the text from one of those objects and strip it, and it's going to add that to the title. So that's going to be the title of the playlist. And then it's going to, so I have a dictionary here. So it's creating a dictionary, which is coming from link to here. So that's what it's creating in the new list comprehension, is a dictionary with a title, a key, and a link key. And the title key will have the title of the playlist, and the link is getting href. This is how you get an attribute of a tag. X is the tag. So this is for X, which is all the things it found in this findAll. So once it gets the tag, it's looking up the href attribute value, and this fix URL is right up here, and all it does is if I have a relative URL, whoops, it's down later, here it is. If I have a relative URL that starts with a slash, it's going to add the YouTube prefix to it to make it an absolute URL. This is why you need to know something about HTML programming in order to do screen scraping, to know when to do this type of thing. We want to filter out these. So what it's looking for is a certain condition, which happens to be that playlist I'm not interested in on the main page. So that's going to filter that out. And that is determined by this shelf ID, and that there's a span that exists. So that does that. Now when I'm all done, if there's no elements, there's no sections. So it's going to return an empty list. So if there's no sections, I'm going to create a dummy section. And this is so that the rest of the code works properly. So the dummy section will just have a title of no sections. And it will have the link that just goes to the list of playlists from the channel. And you'll see I'll repeat this in some of the other things. And then finally I return the list of elements I found that link to playlist, or to sections actually. So now let's go back down to the main. So for each section, okay, so for section in section, so now that I found the section for each of these, I'm now going to get the playlist for that section and store that in a new dictionary item for that particular section. So along with the title and the link, it's now going to have a playlist key, and the playlist key is now going to refer to another list. And this is going to return that list. So let's go look at get playlist. Get playlist. So get playlist, you pass it a section, which remember has a title and a link. Okay, and so it prints out that it's getting that playlist. So it's going to print information as it runs. It's going to call get soup to get the link for that section. So that's going to point to the playlist list of playlists for that section. And if it's if there was no sections, remember there's a dummy section. We'll just point to all the playlist. And so it gets the soup to that. If soup is none, it didn't find any playlist. So in that case, we don't have any playlists. We just want to get a list of all the videos. But I have to create a dummy playlist. So I have a dummy playlist called no playlist, and it links to where all the videos are. So there's a standard link to get all the videos on a YouTube channel. And then finally, it looks for divisions that are, actually originally I was looking for divisions, but since then I've looked for just links. So it's looking for links called A, and that have this in the class. So that was a unique class, which is the class attribute for the A tag that uniquely identified links to playlist. So once I have that, I'm going to build this list here. So I have to process things in this divisions list. So for each D in the divisions list, I get the text. That's going to be the title of that of the playlist. If the title is equal liked videos, I want to skip those. That's not a real playlist. It's the made-up one. And then I'm going to set a link, which is the URL from the tag I found. And then I'm going to get the title, which is, so the title was set up here. So now I'm going to append to this list of playlist a new dictionary which has a title and the link that I just found. And that's going to build that. So when this loop is all done, if it's empty, I didn't find any playlist, and in that case I return the same dummy that I did up here, where if I didn't find the link to the list of playlists in the first place. So that's get playlist. So at this point we have a playlist for the section we're in. So let's go back down to main. For each playlist and sections that we just looked at, we're going to add the videos. So we're going to call this thing called add videos, and in this case we pass playlist. We're going to modify this playlist entry, which is a dictionary. So now let's go to add videos. Now add videos is going to get a lot of information. So it's the longest method here. So when we come into add videos, we go ahead and open it up and get a soup object. We print that we're doing something. We get all the items, A tags that have this class, and that's going to be actually all the videos, that the links that the video represents. And so we have that in items. And then we form an empty list which will store a bunch of dictionaries in it for each video. And we're going to collect a lot of information about the video in this D here. So for each I in items, which is all the A tag soup items, we're now going to look for the information we need. So this just goes through and finds a lot of information. It finds the title, which is just the content of the A tag. It finds the link and fixes the URL, so it finds that. Now it sets that link into information that we're going to remember in this list of videos. And then it finds the next. This find next will search from where I am, which is the A tag, and it finds a span tag after that, which has this property. It has what's called an aerial label that exists. So this is a way of checking in Beautiful Soup if this attribute exists in the span tag. And those are used for the time. So when I find that, I set that to T and check if the text of that exists. Then let's see. Then it's going to set it to T, what it just found. If it doesn't exist, it's going to put NA. I found there were some cases in YouTube where it couldn't find the time. It had the tag, but it didn't have information in it. So that sets the time. And then finally, it's going to have to open the actual video. It's getting this information from the original playlist that's on the playlist. So now it's going to go into the video and open that up. So I get a soup to the video, and I call this V soup because I'm already processing another soup up there. And so now once it's in, and it just says, well, I've finished processing from that level, now it's processing the video. And so in the video, it's going to find a lot of things. So I'm not going to go through everything here, but it's going to find how many views. So views, it actually finds the text, and the text has commas and other things in it besides numbers. So basically this thing here is, there's a generator inside this join that's going to find all the characters in the views that it finds, but it's only going to accept numbers. So it's going to put all the numbers together. So that's going to get the total number of views as a string. It's going to set publication date, so it's going to find the publication date. It's going to find the description. It's going to find the short link. It's going to find how many likes and dislikes, and that's all the information I'm looking for. So you can always expand this section if you want more information off the video. And finally, once it's composed that whole list, it sets the playlist. It makes a new key in playlist called videos, which has that information. So that's it. So once I've done that looping here and it's built all the videos, oh, I'm not there, down here. Once I've done in this for loop and I've finished this for loop, I have sections, which is what I started. It points to everything. It's a great big structure. You can print it out here after you've done it. If you have Pretty Print, which is a library in Python, you just import ppprint from ppprint import ppprint, and then you could say ppprint sections, and it would print it all out in a nice indexed way so you can see what it likes. But what I want to do is output an HTML file and a CSV file, which is you can import to Excel, and then it just prints the program is complete. So let's go look at these two methods. So here's HTML out, and I looked at the Python that you can get for outputting HTML, and what I wanted to do was pretty simple, so I just did it myself. So to make this work, I have a tag method. What you give it a tag and a content, and it just surrounds that, puts that content within those two tags. So it creates the HTML for you. One-liner method. Here's another one-liner. If you have a link, this will create, you want some content and you want to link to that with a URL, which is basically an A tag. So this formats an A tag with that href and that content. So that's all I need. So now I'm going to build a web page. So you pass to HTML the name of the channel and this section's structure, which has all the information. It sets the title of the channel. So the title is going to be YouTube channel and the name of the channel. It opens up a file for writing, so called F, and it has a template here. So the template is the whole HTML file. So the template has a doc type at the start. It has the HTML tag in English. It has the header. It has a meta set to set it to say it's what kind of character set it's using. So if you're used to HTML, this is something you want to do in your HTML file. It has a title, and I'm going to fill that in later. So it just has an empty specifier here with curly braces. And then it has the end of the head section, the start of the body section, and then I have a thing to put all my content of the actual HTML document here, and then it ends the body and ends the whole file. So this is basically the template for an entire HTML5 file here. Actually, I probably don't want extra space right here. I'll go ahead and fix that here. It doesn't matter. It seems to have worked in the browsers I used. Okay, so now we have the parts. Now the parts are going to be in sequence. We're going to build up the strings we need to put together to make the file. So it's convenient to do it this way. So the first part, we want to append a tag, which is a title. So we put the title into an H1 tag. So that's going to pin that to parts. And then we're going to have for each section in sections, we're going to append to parts a tag which is a H2 title, and it's going to get, now this is, and it's creating a link. Remember that inputs an A tag with this section, the title of the section, and a link to the section. So that's going to be that link to the section. So let me go remind you what we're building here. Right here at the top. So we're building this name of the section and a link to it. Okay. So now we go into the playlist. For each playlist and section, we append a tag which is an H3 tag. We have a link to the playlist with this title and this link. So that's what this is. And then for each playlist in the section, we append, let's see, we did that. Okay, so after the playlist, we start an ordered list. So we append that to parts. And then for each video, we're going to, in videos for the playlist, we're going to append a tag which is an LI, which is a list item. And then we're going to do a link with the title and a link to the actual video. And then after that, we're going to put the time in parentheses by looking that up. So that creates each of these. So this is a ordered list, so it has numbers here for each video. Here's the link to the video, and here's the time. And so it just repeats that over and over until it's done the whole thing. And finally, it's created all these parts. So what I down here is I join all the parts together with new lines, so that becomes the structure of what I'm going to stick into the web page. Now I stick it into the web page by calling the template that I wrote up here format, and because there's a curly brace here and here, format is a property of a string which expects a template like this, and it takes the parameters and sticks them into where the curly braces are. The first one is replaced by the channel name, and the second one is replaced by this join, which is creating a string for all the parts all together. So we're all set there. And finally we close the file, and that's going to write out the HTML. Now the comma separated value file, the CSV file, is very similar to this. So you can look at that, but basically it splits up the titles I want in the headers. It opens up, it goes through the same kind of flow here, but it's composing a line that has tabs between it, is basically what it's doing. And so it eventually writes that line. Actually it's just writing a list, so it's basically extending a list. And so that's going to look up the information and do everything. So let's see what all this looks like. So this is the HTML file, and you can also view source and see what the program generated this from all the information. And then I'm going to go to Excel. This is the CSV file. So the CSV file I can now use for other programs. I can use it directly in Excel, or I can import this into a database. And so it's got the channel name, the section name, the playlist within the section, the videos. So this is all the videos within that playlist in order. The link to those videos, that's the short links. How long the video is, how many times it's been viewed, its publication date, its likes and dislikes, and the description, which is the long part. So it's output all this, and to open this in HTML, into Excel, and this should work on either a PC or a Mac. You go to your file system, you find the CSV file, and you just double click on it. And if you have Excel installed, that'll automatically open up Excel and translate that file and open it into Excel. And that's it. So I try to make this video as short as possible, but walk through all the code. So enjoy the code. Look for the link to where the code is and the descriptor for this video when it's published. And we'll see you in the future for more videos.